Savage X Revenge.
Welcome to Savage X Revenge, where broken hearts turn into engines of retribution. Ever felt betrayed to the core? Watched your life get nuked by the person you loved most? Well, you've come to the right damn place. Tonight, I'm gonna spin you my yarn, a tale of deceit, fury, and a journey to reclaim justice in the most brutal way possible. Buckle up, cause this ride's gonna be a bumpy one. Me, Mark Johnson, age 38, successful architect. My life used to be described in 2 words, perfect and stable. Posh penthouse in the heart of Manhattan, a job I'm actually passionate about, and a beautiful, smart wife, Sarah. We were married for 7 years, and I thought I was the luckiest son of a bitch alive. Until that fateful day. Sarah worked in PR, a gig that demanded she network and hit up a ton of events. I always had her back, trusted her honesty without question. We were constantly hitting parties and company functions together, and I was always proud to have her by my side. About 2 years back, Sarah started joining a tennis club for industry folks. She said it was a killer way to unwind after those stressful work hours and connect with colleagues. I supported her, even pushed her to go more often. At the time, I didn't suspect a goddamn thing. Things started to shift, slow and subtle, like a damn glacier. Sarah was spending less and less time with me. She was constantly coming home late, claiming she had to put in extra hours or attend company events. When I tried to strike up a conversation, she'd usually act exhausted and dodge me. "I'm beat, Mark. Just let me rest for a bit," she'd say. I started feeling like I was rattling around in my own damn house. Romantic dinners, cozy movie nights, those heart-to-heart talks were getting fewer and further between. In their place, an eerie silence and those invisible distances just kept growing. One evening, Sarah said she had to jet off on an emergency business trip to Los Angeles. "A major client needs me ASAP, Mark. I gotta go," she said, all hurried. Something felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I looked into her eyes, tried to find the truth, but all I saw was exhaustion and worry. "How many days will you be gone?" I asked. "Probably just 3 or 4. I'll call you as soon as I land," she answered. I nodded, trying to look calm. I hugged her goodbye, but a sense of unease washed over me. As the taxi disappeared, I stood frozen on the sidewalk, feeling a hollowness and loneliness creep into my soul. That night, I couldn't sleep for shit. I tossed and turned, trying to shake off the negative thoughts. I told myself I was being paranoid, that Sarah was a good woman and I should trust her. But a gut feeling told me something was wrong. I couldn't shake the anxiety and suspicion gnawing at my mind. I decided to do something I never thought I'd do, check Sarah's phone. I knew it was a total invasion of privacy, but I had no other choice. I needed to know the truth, no matter how much it might hurt. I found Sarah's phone in the nightstand drawer. My heart was pounding as I opened it. I entered the password, one I'd known for ages, and started digging. Texts, calls, pictures, they all laid bare a horrifying truth. Sarah was having an affair. Not just with one guy, but with multiple. Guys I knew, guys I used to consider friends. I read the lovey-dovey texts, the secret date plans, the steamy photos. I felt like someone had just punched me in the chest. My breathing got ragged, my vision blurred. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Sarah, the wife I loved with all my heart, the woman I trusted implicitly, was straight up deceiving me. This truth hit me like a bolt of lightning, shattering everything I'd ever believed and built. I kept searching, and what I found made me even more disgusted. Sarah had been planning secret trips, clandestine meetings, and stolen nights of passion. She'd turned me into a goddamn joke, a cuckold who didn't have a clue. Among those messages, one name kept popping up, Richard. Richard was Sarah's tennis coach, a tall, muscular dude with a charming smile and wandering eyes. I'd met Richard a few times, and I always felt like something was off about that guy. The texts between Sarah and Richard showed they were having a full-blown love affair. They were constantly meeting up after tennis lessons, going out to dinner, traveling together. They were even planning to run away together. I couldn't take it anymore. I threw the phone down on the bed, letting out a guttural scream. Rage, fury, heartbreak, it all mixed together, creating a violent emotional storm. I couldn't believe Sarah had done this to me. She destroyed my life, turned me into a laughingstock in front of everyone. She betrayed my trust, stomped on my love, and ruined everything we'd ever had. I sank to the floor, hugging my head and sobbing uncontrollably. I felt like I'd just lost a loved one. No, I'd lost more than that. I'd lost faith, hope, and everything I used to cherish. After a long while, the emotional storm started to subside. I stood up, wiped away my tears, and looked in the mirror. I saw a different man, a man aged, tired, and filled with resentment. I knew I couldn't just sit here and cry. I had to do something. I had to get revenge. The thought of revenge flashed in my mind like lightning. I wanted Sarah to pay for what she'd done. I wanted her to suffer the pain I was feeling. I wanted her to regret ever betraying me. But I didn't want to get revenge in a rash, impulsive way. I wanted to get revenge smartly, strategically, and ruthlessly. I wanted Sarah to suffer slowly, painfully, and without any escape. I started planning. I wouldn't divorce Sarah right away. I'd keep her close, pretend like nothing was happening, and silently gather evidence. I'd learn everything about her affairs, her secrets, and her weaknesses. I'd use this information to destroy her. I'd get her fired, lose her friends, and lose everything she cherished. I'd turn her life into a living hell. I knew it was a dangerous road full of risks. But I had no other choice. I had to get revenge to protect my self-respect, to reclaim justice, and to prove I wasn't a damn fool. I started reaching out for help. I contacted the best lawyer I knew, an old friend from college. I told him everything and asked him to help me plan the most advantageous divorce possible. Mark, I understand how you feel. But you gotta remember that revenge isn't the best solution. It might make you feel satisfied for a minute, but in the long run, it'll just leave you more hurt and tired, my lawyer friend said. I know, but I can't just let this go. I need to get revenge so I can move on, I replied. All right, I'll help you. But you gotta promise me you won't do anything stupid or illegal, my lawyer friend said. I promise, I replied. With my lawyer friend's help, I started gathering evidence and planning the divorce. I also started researching the laws related to adultery and division of property. I found out that in New York, adultery isn't a major factor in dividing assets. However, if I could prove that Sarah had used our money to pay for her affairs, I might have an advantage in splitting the assets. I started monitoring Sarah's bank accounts, looking for suspicious transactions. I also started gathering information about the gifts she'd given to her lovers. I also contacted a private investigator and asked him to follow Sarah and collect evidence about her meetings with Richard and the other guys. I knew I was heading down a dark and dangerous path, but I couldn't stop. I'd been hurt too deeply and I needed to get revenge so I could heal. The next few days were hell. I had to live with Sarah, pretend like nothing was happening while inside I was seething with negative emotions. I had to watch her smile, eat dinner, sleep next to me while I knew she was straight up lying to me. I felt like I was being tortured. But I tried to stay calm. I knew if I let my emotions show, Sarah would get suspicious and my plan would fall apart. I kept gathering evidence, planning the divorce, and waiting for my moment. I knew that moment would come, and when it did, I wouldn't miss it. I started thinking about different ways to get revenge. I wanted to make Sarah suffer, but I didn't want to do anything illegal or that I'd regret. I thought about revealing the truth to Sarah's family and friends. I knew that would humiliate her and make her an outcast, but I was afraid it would hurt innocent people. I thought about destroying Sarah's career. I could tell her partners and clients about her misconduct, but I was afraid it would make her lose her only source of income. Finally, I decided to choose a different path. I'd get revenge by taking away everything that was most important to Sarah. Money, assets, and reputation. I'd divorce her, and I'd make damn sure she wouldn't get a dime from me. I'd prove to her that she made a mistake when she betrayed me. I knew it was going to be a long and hard road, but I was determined to see it through. I wouldn't let Sarah get away with it. Betrayal doesn't destroy you. It's how you react to it that determines your future. I mumbled this mantra in my head as a reminder of my goal. I clenched my fist, determined to carry out my plan to the end. I'm going to get my revenge, Sarah, and I'm gonna make you regret the day you crossed me. The game's just getting started, sweetheart. And I promise you ain't gonna like the ending. Pulling off this revenge scheme wasn't nearly as easy as I thought. Living with Sarah under the same damn roof, faking the loving husband routine, all while secretly plotting to demolish her life, was a mind-blowing challenge. Every smile, every hug, every lie she told felt like a goddamn knife twisting in my gut. But I refused to break. I had to stay strong so I could see this through. Those days I was living a double life straight up. By day I was Mark Johnson, successful architect, devoted husband. By night, I was a cold-blooded revenger, silently gathering intel and planning my attack. I spent hours hitting the books, studying the law, looking for loopholes and ways to use them against Sarah. I discovered that, even though adultery wasn't a major factor in property division in New York, I could use it to put the squeeze on Sarah and force her to cave. I also dug deeper into Richard, Sarah's tennis coach. I found out the guy had a wife and 2 kids, yet he was still blatantly screwing Sarah. That just added fuel to the fire. I decided I wasn't just going to get revenge on Sarah, but on Richard too. With the private investigators' help, I got my hands on a ton of evidence about Sarah and Richard's affair. Photos of them making out, lovey-dovey texts, hotel bills. All rock-solid proof, no denying it. I also found out that Sarah had been using our money to buy Richard gifts. Expensive watches, designer clothes, lavish trips. All paid for with my hard-earned cash. That just pissed me off even more. I decided to use this evidence to apply some serious pressure on Sarah. I was going to show her that I knew everything, and there was no way she was getting away with it. One evening, when Sarah got home from work, I was waiting for her in the living room. I'd already poured a glass of wine and put on some smooth music. I tried to act normal, but inside I was shaking with rage. "How was your day, honey?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. "It was okay. I was super busy," Sarah answered, sounding tired. "You want a little wine?" I asked. "Sure," Sarah replied, and sat down on the sofa. I poured her a glass and handed it to her. We sat in silence for a minute, sipping our wine and listening to the music. "I have something I want to talk to you about," I said, after a long pause. "What's up?" Sarah asked, sounding curious. "You remember Richard, right?" I asked. Sarah froze, a look of worry crossing her face. "Which Richard?" she asked, faking it. "Richard, your tennis coach. The guy you've been screwing," I replied, my voice cold as ice. Sarah went pale and dropped her wine glass on the floor. What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Don't play dumb, Sarah. I know everything. I know about Richard, about your little meetings, about the gifts you bought him. I know it all," I replied, my voice full of resentment. Sarah burst into tears. She dropped to her knees and grabbed my legs. "Mark, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. She said, her voice full of remorse. "Shut up. You don't have the right to say anything anymore," I shouted, pushing her hands away. I stood up, went to the cabinet and pulled out a file folder. I threw it down in front of Sarah. "This is all the evidence of your betrayal. The photos, the texts, the bills. It's all in here," I said, my voice ice cold. Sarah looked at the file folder, shaking and sobbing. "Mark, please forgive me. I promise I'll never do it again," she said. "Forgive you? You think I can forgive you after everything you've done? You've destroyed my life, Sarah. You've turned me into a joke in front of everyone. You've betrayed my trust, stomped on my love, and ruined everything we ever had," I said, my voice full of resentment. I know. I screwed up. I'm sorry," Sarah said, her voice full of remorse. "Your apology means nothing. I don't need your apology. I just need you to pay for what you've done," I replied, my voice cold as ice. "Pay? What do you want me to do?" Sarah asked, sounding scared. "I want you to sign this divorce agreement. You won't get a goddamn thing from me. You'll have to leave this apartment, and you'll have to live a life of poverty and loneliness," I replied, my voice full of cruelty. Sarah looked at me, her eyes wide with horror. "You can't do that to me. I can't live without you," she said. "I don't give a damn. You made your choice. Now you have to take responsibility for your actions," I replied, my voice cold as ice. I handed Sarah a pen and pointed to the signature line on the divorce agreement. "Sign it," I said. Sarah hesitated for a moment. Then she grabbed the pen and signed the divorce agreement. When she was done, I felt a weird sense of satisfaction. I'd gotten my revenge on Sarah. But I knew this was just the beginning. I wouldn't stop until Sarah had suffered all the pain that I had suffered. I continued gathering information about Richard. I found out that he was having financial problems, and he was desperate for money. I decided to use this information against him. I'd tell Richard's wife about his affair with Sarah, and I'd get him fired from his job. I contacted Richard's wife, a sweet and trusting woman. I told her everything and showed her the evidence I'd collected. Richard's wife was shocked and devastated. She couldn't believe that her husband could do this to her. "I'm going to divorce him," she said, her voice full of resentment. "I'm not going to let him get away with this." I was pleased to hear this. I knew that Richard was going to pay for what he'd done. I also contacted the company where Richard worked and told them about his affair with Sarah. I said his behavior was inappropriate and could damage the company's reputation. The company Richard worked for was furious. They decided to fire Richard immediately. Richard lost his job, lost his wife, and lost everything he cherished. He had to pay the price for his wrongdoings. I felt vindicated watching Richard and Sarah suffer the pain they'd caused me, but I still didn't feel completely satisfied. I wanted more. I decided to destroy Sarah's reputation. I was going to tell everyone about her misconduct. I created an account on social media and posted all the evidence of Sarah's betrayal. I told everyone about her meetings with Richard and the other guys, about the gifts she'd bought them, and about the lies she'd told me. My post quickly went viral on social media. Everyone was shocked and outraged by Sarah's actions. Sarah was criticized and condemned on social media. She lost all her friends and family. She couldn't go outside without being pointed at and whispered about. She lost her job and couldn't find a new one. She lived a life of poverty and loneliness. I felt triumphant watching Sarah suffer the consequences of her actions. I had gotten my revenge. However, after a while, I started feeling empty and alone. I'd gotten revenge on Sarah, but I still didn't feel happy. I realized that revenge wasn't the best solution. It couldn't heal my heartache. It just left me more hurt and tired. I decided to let go of the past and start a new life. I sold my apartment and moved to a different city. I found a new job and started making new friends. I gradually forgot about Sarah and the pain she'd caused me. I started feeling happy again. I realized that betrayal doesn't destroy you, it's how you react to it that determines your future. I'd chosen to get revenge and it had made me miserable. But in the end, I'd chosen to let go and forgive, and it had brought me peace. I still remembered Sarah, but I no longer felt resentment or anger. I just felt sorry for her. She'd ruined her own life and she had to take responsibility for her actions. I hoped that one day Sarah would realize her mistakes and change her life. But until then, I'd continue living my life happily and fully. But the initial satisfaction quickly faded. That feeling of emptiness, loneliness, and bitterness lingered, gnawing at me from the inside. I still couldn't sleep soundly. Images of Sarah and Richard kept haunting me. I knew I had to do more to truly get revenge and find some damn peace of mind. I started digging into Sarah's finances even more. I discovered she'd been secretly transferring large sums of money into a hidden offshore account. That just set me off. Not only was she having an affair, but she was also lying to me about money. I decided to use this information against Sarah. I contacted my lawyer and told him to take the case to court. I wanted Sarah to pay back every last cent she'd secretly stashed away. Sarah freaked out when she found out I'd discovered her secret account. She begged me to forgive her, promised to return all the money. But I didn't believe her. I wanted her to face the music. The lawsuit dragged on for months and it caused a lot of stress for both of us. Sarah tried to hide the truth, but I had enough evidence to prove she'd been lying to me. Finally, the court ruled in my favor. Sarah had to return all the money she'd secretly transferred, plus penalties and legal fees. Sarah was completely devastated. She lost everything: money, assets, reputation, and even her self-respect. She became a homeless person, living a life of poverty and loneliness. I felt vindicated watching Sarah suffer the consequences of her actions. I had gotten my revenge, but the joy of victory was short-lived. After that, I felt empty and alone again. I realized that revenge couldn't bring me happiness. I decided to forgive Sarah and allow myself to be free from the past. I started focusing on building a new life, a better life. I found a new job and started traveling the world. I met new people and experienced new things. I gradually forgot about Sarah and the pain she'd caused me. I started feeling happy again. I realized that betrayal can't destroy you unless you let it. I used to let Sarah's betrayal ruin my life, but eventually I chose to overcome it and build a new life. I don't regret what I did. I believe I did what was necessary to protect myself and get justice. But I also learned that revenge isn't the best solution. Forgiveness and letting go are the best ways to heal heartbreak and find peace of mind. Even after Sarah's life had completely imploded, I still couldn't find real peace. The initial sense of hell yeah faded, replaced by this gnawing emptiness and a guilty conscience. I got my revenge, but was it worth it? Was I really any better than Sarah? That question kept haunting me. I decided to switch gears. Instead of focusing on making Sarah suffer even more, I'd shift my focus to rebuilding my own damn life. I was going to show her that I could live better, be more successful, and be way happier without her. First off, I started taking care of myself. I hit the gym harder, ate healthier, and actually started getting enough sleep. I also made time for my hobbies, like painting and playing music. I realized I'd been neglecting myself for way too long. I'd been so focused on my job and on Sarah that I forgot I needed to love and take care of myself too. I also started spending more time with my friends and family. I realized I'd been distant with them for a long time. I'd been so wrapped up in my own life that I forgot they were the most important people to me. I was calling my folks more often and going to visit them every weekend. I also hung out with my friends, hitting movies, dinners, and even taking trips together. I realized my friends and family were the ones who were always there for me, supporting me, and loving me unconditionally. I was grateful for everything they'd done. I also started pouring myself into my work. I worked harder, got more creative, and found that old passion again. I realized my job was a huge part of my life and I wanted to kill it in my career. I started taking on bigger, more complex projects that demanded more skill. I also started sniffing out new opportunities, the kind that could help me grow and boost my reputation in the architecture game. I quickly made major strides in my career. I got a promotion, a sweet raise, and was recognized as one of the most talented architects in the city. I even started getting job offers from big-name firms all over the world. I finally took an offer from a company in London and moved my ass over there. I wanted a new life, one without Sarah, without the painful memories of the past, and without any emotional baggage. I landed in London and quickly adapted to life there. I found a sweet apartment, a killer job, and made some new friends. I also started dating other women. I realized I could still love and I still deserve to be happy. I met an amazing woman named Emily. Emily was a young, intelligent, beautiful writer who shared my passions. We fell for each other fast and started building a serious relationship. Emily was a kind, caring woman who always had my back. I felt like I'd finally found true love. I proposed to Emily and she said, "Hell yeah." We had a small, intimate wedding with close friends and family. I felt like the happiest man on the planet. After the wedding, we traveled the world together. We went to places I'd never been and experienced things I'd only dreamed of. I realized there was so much more to life than the shit I'd been hung up on. I didn't want to waste any more time dwelling on the past. I made the decision to forgive Sarah and forget everything she'd done to me. I didn't want to hold on to any of that hate. I believe that forgiveness is the best way to heal those deep wounds and allow yourself to be free. One day, I got a call from Sarah. She wanted to meet up. I hesitated for a moment, then decided to go for it. I wanted to see how she'd changed and whether she was genuinely remorseful. We met at a little coffee shop in London. Sarah looked thin and worn out, even more so than before. "Hi, Mark," she said, her voice hesitant. "Hey, Sarah," I replied, sounding neutral. We sat in silence for a minute, neither of us saying anything. "I wanted to apologize," Sarah said after a while. "I know I hurt you a lot." "I'm sorry." "I know," I replied. "I forgive you." Sarah looked at me, her eyes wide with surprise. "You really forgive me?" she asked. "Really," I replied. "I don't want to hold on to any of that hate." Sarah burst into tears. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for forgiving me." "You're welcome," I replied. "I hope you find happiness in your life." "I hope so too," Sarah said. We talked for a bit longer and then said goodbye. I didn't know if Sarah had truly changed, but I felt like I'd done the right thing. I'd forgiven her and I'd allowed myself to be free. I wasn't haunted by the past anymore. I could live a new life, a life of happiness and fulfillment. But deep down in my heart, there was still one dark corner I just couldn't shake. That was the resentment toward those friends who knew about Sarah's affair but kept their mouths shut and even helped her cover up the truth. They deserved to pay too. I started digging into the lives of these so-called friends. I found out some of them were having financial troubles, some were battling problems in their marriages, and some had dark secrets they didn't want anyone to know about. I decided to use this info against them. I'd expose their secrets, ruin their lives, and make them pay for their betrayal. I started by blowing the whistle on a friend named David's financial secrets. David was a successful businessman, but he'd been defrauding and evading taxes for years. I tipped off the IRS and David got arrested and went to jail. Next, I exposed the marriage problems of a friend named Lisa. Lisa had been cheating on her husband with multiple guys and she was planning to divorce him to be with a richer dude. I told Lisa's husband everything and he divorced her and took all her assets. Finally, I revealed the dark secret of a friend named John. John had committed murder when he was younger and he'd been dodging the law for years. I told the cops everything and John was arrested and had to face justice. After getting revenge on all those backstabbing friends, I felt a sick sense of satisfaction. I'd proven they couldn't get away with what they did. But then I felt that emptiness and loneliness again. I realized that revenge couldn't bring me happiness. It just turned me into a meaner, more ruthless person. I decided to stop. I wasn't going to get revenge on anyone anymore. I was going to focus on building a new life, a better life. I forgave everyone who had hurt me and I apologized to everyone I'd hurt. I started living a decent and honest life. I helped people in need and I tried to make the world a better place. I realized that true happiness didn't come from revenge, but from love, forgiveness, and helping others. I found peace in my heart and I lived a happy and fulfilling life. Time flew by and I was 45 years old. I was still living in London and still working in architecture. I was still happy with Emily and we had a peaceful family life. I still thought about Sarah from time to time, but I didn't feel any more hate or anger. I just felt pity for her. I heard she'd married another guy and was living a regular life in a small town in America. I hoped she'd found happiness in her new life. I realized that life is a long journey and that we're going to face a lot of struggles and challenges along the way. But the important thing is that we learn to overcome those challenges and keep moving forward. We can't change the past, but we can create a better future. We can learn from our mistakes and become better people. We can forgive those who have hurt us and allow ourselves to be free. We can love and we can be loved. We can live a happy and fulfilling life. But was I truly happy? Had I really forgiven Sarah and those backstabbing friends? Had I truly moved on from all that past pain? I don't know the answers, but I believe I'm on the right track. I'm trying my best to be a better person and to build a better life. I hope my story helps you, those of you facing betrayal and hardship in your own lives. Just remember you're not alone. There are tons of people who have been through the same kind of shit and they've come out on top. You can too. Believe in yourself and keep fighting. Life will get better. Betrayal can be one of the most gut-wrenching experiences we face in life. It can leave us feeling hurt, angry, and alone. But we can't let betrayal destroy our lives. We gotta learn to overcome it and become stronger people. There are lots of ways to deal with betrayal. Some folks choose revenge, but I believe that's not the best answer. Revenge might give you a rush for a minute, but in the long run, it'll only leave you more hurt and tired. The best way to deal with betrayal is to forgive and let go. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what happened, it means allowing yourself to be free. When we forgive others, we're not just helping them, we're helping ourselves. We release ourselves from those negative emotions and allow ourselves to live a happy and fulfilling life. Looking back on my revenge journey, full of all that bitterness, I suddenly realized something funny. Maybe Sarah and Richard were the kick in the ass I needed to realize my own damn worth. Like they say, when life gives you lemons, squeeze M and make a damn good cocktail. Okay, maybe I made a cocktail that was a little on the strong side, but at least it woke me up and made me realize I deserved a hell of a lot better. Forgiving others isn't because they deserve it, it's because you deserve peace. I always kept that quote in mind when I thought about the past. Forgiveness isn't some weak-ass move, it's a brave act that demands strength and compassion. So, there you have it, folks. That's my revenge story. A story full of pain, anger, and screw-ups too. But in the end, I learned that revenge ain't the best answer, and forgiveness is the path to true happiness. What do you think of my story? Do you agree with me that forgiveness is the best way to deal with betrayal? Have you ever gone through anything similar in your own life? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments down below. And remember, no matter what you're facing in life, you're not alone. There are always people who love and support you. Believe in yourself and keep fighting. If you found this story meaningful and inspiring, give it a like and subscribe to the Savage X Revenge channel so you don't miss more of these brutal revenge tales and the profound life lessons that come with them. Thanks for listening, y'all. Remember, betrayal doesn't destroy you, it's how you react that shapes your future. Choose wisely.